but like now like truly tell. So a student on the track team runs 45 minutes each day as part of her training. She begins her workout by running at a constant rate of 8 miles per hour for A minutes, then slows to a constant rate of 7.5 miles per hour for B minutes. Which equation describes the relationship between the distance she runs in miles, D, and her running speed in miles per hour? So normally, what do I usually tell you to look for first? I don't know if you remember me talking about it earlier. But when I'm like scanning a word problem, what did I say is usually helpful to figure out first? Any? Because we're dealing with equations, yes? Okay, variables are something to take note of. That wouldn't necessarily be the first thing I look for. Since we're making equations, usually I look for any totals first, because that's what would be alone on one side. And then all I have to figure out is what logically contributes to that total. So earlier when we went over this, they said 45 minutes is the total. And yeah, it is, but what this total is her total minutes working out. So we're not going to use that total because the rest of the stuff is like about her distance in miles. So the total that we're going to use for what it's asking is the D. Okay, so you can already eliminate this one because we're not trying to figure out like how many minutes she spent doing what. We want to know her distance in miles, which the rest of them are equal to D. So then to figure out her distance in miles, see like the other numbers that are a part of it. So 45 doesn't really seem like it's relevant for this, for figuring out her distance. We need to know what part she did what for. So she begins her workout by running at a constant rate of 8 miles per hour for 8 minutes. Now that you have to watch out for because the speed is in miles per hour, but the variable is in minutes. So you either have to convert this to minutes, which it doesn't look like they did that in any of them, or convert the minutes to like hours. Do you know how to do that? To convert the minutes to hours? How many minutes are in an hour? 60. So say like, I don't know. I know in a different problem, it said something like 20 minutes, right? So 20 minutes out of 60 is really a third of an hour, or if you use a decimal, it's like 0.33. So you're going to do something similar here. We don't know for how many minutes she went exactly, but we know that we should divide those minutes by 60 if we're going to convert it to now hours. So knowing that now, which option should I pick? Which one makes most sense? A, B, or D? A. All right, because since the speed is in miles per hour, but they're timing it by minutes, we now have to change that minutes to hours, which is going to make sense. And then we can figure out that'll give us the distance for however long she ran for that much. And then for the other part, she ran at a rate of 7.5 miles per hour for B minutes. So again, convert those minutes to hours, which is what this would do. We don't know exactly how long she spent doing that, so I can't actually tell you. But once you figure out how many hours that is, then it'll be times by her speed. And then combined would give me her total distance. Does that make sense? Okay. These other ones, like this one looks like it could be a good answer. Like this one might be the second best answer, but it's the fact that the variable is in minutes and the speed is in miles. Or hours, I should say. So questions on that? Questions on others? And it could be from the lesson one practice if you have questions on that still. But any other requests? What does it start with? Okay. All right, so this one is a long one, lots of reading, and it is spaced a little bit weird. Let me see if I can fix the spacing. Not that it would really matter for you, but it might make it easier to read. So Jada plans to serve milk and healthy cookies for a book club meeting. She's preparing 12 ounces of milk and 4 cookies per person, including herself. There are 50 people in the club. A package of cookies contains 24 cookies and costs $4.50. A 1-gallon jug of milk contains 128 ounces and costs $3. Let N represent number of people in the club. M represents the ounces of milk. C represents the number of cookies, and B represent Jada's budget in dollars. Select all of the equations that could represent the quantities and constraints in this situation. Okay, so really this one is like, can you read carefully or not? So we'll just kind of go down the list, and it's saving, so it's kind of taking a while. But the very first one says M equals 12 times 15. So see what M is supposed to represent, which is ounces of milk. So why would she do 12 times 15 to figure out the ounces of milk? Like, does it make sense is what you should be asking. So does it make sense doing 12 times 15? Is that like relevant at all for her figuring out stuff? All right, well, let's see. Because this one did confuse me at first, but I went back and read it and I was like, oh, it's right there. So M is ounces of milk, so pay attention where I talked about milk. She's preparing 12 ounces of milk and 4 cookies per person, including herself. There are 15 people in the club. So how many ounces of milk does she need? Is it 12 times 15? So that one is actually going to be one of the things we pick, because that'll tell me the ounces of milk I need. So I would select that one. And then the next one is 3 times M, which was ounces of milk, plus 4.5 times C, which is number of cookies, equal to B, which is her budget. So since this is equaling her budget, did they appropriately set it up so that she sees that she's under her budget? All right, so we do know that a gallon of milk costs $3. Should I be timesing it by the number of ounces? You maybe just like read it again. Maybe read this whole first 2 sentences again, this first chunk. And then tell me if we should multiply the 3 by the ounces of milk. All right, so raise your hand if you think we should times the 3 by the ounces of milk for the cost of the milk. Okay, raise your hand if you don't think we should. Okay, and why? What should we actually be multiplying the 3 by? I don't think there's a variable for it. So like in the real world, I should multiply the 3 by what? Hey, you all said no, so Someone has to know, not just because they submitted it and it happens to be right. When you go to the store and you pick up a thing of milk, are you looking at the ounces and timing the cost by the ounces? No. The cost is for the gallon of milk itself, right? Yes, maybe. So I wouldn't, since M is ounces of milk, I wouldn't times the ounces of milk by $3. I would times however many gallons I need by the $3. So that's why this one is wrong. That's why you shouldn't pick the second one. The rest of it is fine. Like the cookies cost like $4.50 for the package. But well, yeah, no, that doesn't even make sense either. Because C is for the number of cookies. I'm not paying $4.50 for each individual cookie. I'm paying for the package. Good? Okay. If they said that this represented package of milk or package of cookies, then that would work, but it doesn't. All right, now down here, 4N equal to C. So C is the number of cookies. And N is the number of people in the club. So should she do that? Multiply 4 times the number of people in the club to get the amount of cookies she needs. How many cookies does she want each person to have? 4, it says so up here. So yeah, that works. If you put 4 times 15, that would also work. Anyway, moving on. The next one is 4 times 450 equals C. So C is the number of cookies. Should I multiply, because she wants 4 cookies per person, should I multiply the 4 cookies by $4.50 to give me the number of cookies I need? All right, no, why not? Because we already established if she wants to know how many cookies she needs, she should multiply it by how many people are going to be there. Which could be N or the 15. 450, like, is how much it costs for the whole package, not the individual cookies. So no. And also you can't have 4.5 of a person. So another reason is no. All right, now the last one is for her budget, because B is her budget. Equaling 2 times 3 plus 3 times 450. So the cost times, it looks like maybe she wants 2 gallons of milk and 3 packages of cookies. Could she do that? Yeah, and I think the math even works out too. Because if there are 24 cookies, I don't know, I have to do some math, but I have to do 15 times 4. And then if there's 24 cookies in a package, that probably means I need to buy at least 3 packages. And then if there's 128 ounces in a gallon, and she wants to give each person 12 ounces of milk, all right, she probably did that math, 12 times 15. And figured out she needs 2 gallons of milk. So I do think it is those 3. Let me reveal the answer. So first, middle, and last. Okay, sorry, I guess it decided to sign me out. Okay. So then the answer is what we said it was. And that is why. So now you know. These other 2 do not make sense based on what the variables mean. I think is the easiest way to tell. Jaden? Yes. We might have time for one more question. Any other thing, Frankie? Okay, yes. Anyone have a question from the practice? I'm out of time for one more. Okay, so then I'll post this, and my period 2 also has their video posted in the slides already if you want to see what they asked in that explanation. They did ask a lot of questions today.